Donut Bag is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Your data is your business. Protect it with ExpressVPN. For 3 extra months free with a 1-year package, go to the link listed in my Twitter profile. All right, so it's Tuesday night, and about 24 hours ago, we had a horrific situation in the Bills-Bengals game where Damar Hamlin just looked like a routine play, and he suffered looked like he suffered a heart attack, and they gave him CPR, and it did not look good. And we still don't know much about it. We, from what we understand, he's in critical condition and hopefully getting better. But it was a horrific situation that happened on the field, and it makes me wonder: did anything like that happen on the ice? I could think of Clint Malarchuk, but that was not a heart attack situation. That was a skate that got to the neck, and he was bleeding like crazy and could have died if they didn't take care of him. That was a very scary situation, but nothing like a heart attack, at least not in the NHL. Jen, do you know of any?
Rich Peverly, when he played for you know what, I'm pretty sure it was when he played for Dallas back in 2014 or 15. It either happened when he was on the bench when they were playing the Jackets and they canceled that game. That was the end of his career. And also to Brett McLean, when he played for the Arizona Coyotes, he also suffered from a heart attack. Now, I believe both players, Peverly and McLean, had heart holes in their hearts, and it ended both of their careers. I do know that McLean was cleared to play again, but I think he just shut it down and went back home and played local hockey. But yeah, that's to my knowledge.
Yeah. And Angie, didn't you say there was a Rangers prospect? He was only 19 years old, and he died in the KHL.
Yeah, Alexei Cherepanov, and we were talking earlier about how it was extremely sad. He had an incident like this, and there was a lot of controversy over whether the arena in the KHL had the proper medical protocols in place to deal with the situation, whether there was a defibrillator where it was supposed to be. The ambulance that was supposed to be on site wasn't there, had to come back to the arena. And all of these things are things that you just, the precious seconds that you have in dealing with a situation like that count for so much. And who's to say if those seconds that were lost may or may not have saved his life. So really sad situation.
Not only was there apparently there wasn't an ambulance there wasn't even a working defibrillator. That's ridiculous. Did they just assume no hockey players would ever have a heart issue or anything like that? That's crazy.
I guess you just take the cheap way out and hope for the best.
My goodness, yeah.
In my experience, there's one of those in every rink that I've ever worked in, that I've ever been in. There's a defibrillator in every single arena I've ever been to, even if there's not a medic on site. At any league I've worked in, like 3HL for example, we had a paramedic on site. When we had our tournaments, we had 2 paramedics on site. We had a bus on site. Luckily, we never actually had to use it. We had a few minor, gashes, but nothing big. But I mean, there's thousands and thousands of arenas up here in Canada. I can think of 3,000 in the GTA alone, and every single one of them is well set up for disaster.
As it should be.
Yeah. I mean, even around here, even if you go to like a rec center or something like that, or community center, they'll have a working defibrillator there or something. But it also makes me think of Chris Letang. I mean, we just dealt with this. We just talked about this, where he suffered another stroke, and we were talking about, he missed a week 2 weeks, something like that.
13 days.
13 days, and so scary. I mean, I'm not sure where he first discovered the symptoms, but something like that could easily have happened during the game. So it's so scary, and it just makes you think, you know, we watch these games and we root for our teams and we hope for the best and we want them to win, but these are players, these are people, and it's a very dangerous sport. And we're not just talking about heart attacks, we're talking about slamming into the boards, certain ways. Somebody can easily get paralyzed or something like that. So it's just
What happened to that Boston Pride player? She went into the boards and she was paralyzed, I believe, from the neck down. I forget her name. But yeah, it happened. So.
I'm shocked it doesn't happen more often. With as fast as they go, all you need is one slip, or hey, if somebody's sometimes I forget who the Penguins had, like was it Ryan Reeves or something else? But it's somebody else. Basically, someone was near the boards and their head was down, and he just like shoved them into the boards, and their head went into the boards. So I mean, it can easily happen.
Well, players, they know the risks going into these sports. You know them, right? Baseball players know the risk. You take a line drive to the skull. You know the risks. And not to sound insensitive, but you know what you sign yourself up to. And when you listen to fans complain about, oh, you got to take hitting out of hockey and you got to take fighting out of this, and then they go line up to watch the next UFC fight and stuff, and it's like, that doesn't make any sense to me. But this is just one of the things. You got to live your life, and you got to love those in your life, because you never know what's here today could be gone tomorrow. So it's so important that you do what you love, and just love. But you know what I'm saying? Like, don't take anything for granted in life, because you don't know what we have now could, like I said, could be gone tomorrow. So it's really important. Speaking of Chris Letang, we did learn yesterday that his father passed away.
His father
so
passed away.
Right now.
Condolences to his family. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to take another second, because we do this on this podcast, and so we're here for Chris. Poor guy.
It's a shame.
This just isn't his year.
It's
Really
it's a
tough
shame.
year.
Yeah.
I saw a clip of DeMar Hamlin actually saying exactly that about another teammate of his who suffered a major injury recently, and talked about that exact thing about how you just never know how long you have to play a sport or be around, and how you have to appreciate it. It was kind of eerie watching him say those words, knowing what happened last night, but just really does underscore exactly that. And for me, what I took from that game, that I really liked how the players put their feet down and told the NFL, 5 minutes of resuming this game is not going to happen. No, thank you. We're not playing. And to me, I agree with you. Players know what they're signing up for, but you also don't expect a circumstance like that. The players were really rattled. Nobody was playing that game again last night, and for the NFL to think that was going on again in 5 minutes, I just shake my head. And to me, it underscores how much these leagues in general are able to compartmentalize the people from the product. And I just shake my head at the whole thing. Okay, sure, let's just play a football game.
We've moved far away. It's funny you mentioned that, Angie. Sorry to cut you off, Joe, but just to go off what Angie was just saying, I've noticed that how far we've moved from the sport itself in all these leagues, and how it's become more of a circus. It's more about the entertainment factor than it is about the sports, the games itself. And it's I'll be honest with you, it's losing me. Like, hockey is losing me of all people. Like, I've been in love with hockey for longer than I can remember, and I have a hard time. Like yesterday, I almost didn't even watch the game. Wow. I was losing it. I'm literally going like, what is this? Like, stop it. Like, drop the puck. I want to watch the game. And I get it that they want to, I get it that they were trying to bring in new fans and this, that, and the other, but we're getting so far away from the sports themselves. And it doesn't surprise me yesterday that they're like, oh, okay, well, give them 5 minutes to compose themselves. How do you compose yourself when watching your teammate or an opposing player, go through something like that? I can't even get myself together when I watch a player get stretchered off the ice.
Right.
I'm done with that game. I'm like, I got to go for a walk. I can't watch this. Even if it's a player from an opposing team, like I'm done. And I'm not even
I
in
couldn't
the
sleep
same
last
city.
night after watching that.
Yeah, me neither.
Exactly.
Me neither.
No,
yeah.
it's just all you could think about. It was very upsetting. And yeah, I just can't get over how they expected players to.
And for them
take
to
stuff away
deny
like
it,
that.
for them to deny it was disgusting. They're like, oh no, we never said 5 minutes. Listen, we have eyes. They said on ESPN, oh, we're just told by the league that they're going to start again in 5 minutes. You saw the players warming up, and when they were warming up, they had this look on their face like they were
disbelief. Like, what's going on?
Exactly, disbelief.
It's surreal.
They're like, oh no, we never told them 5 minutes. Shut up. Thank goodness the players and coaches stepped in and said, we're not playing. My goodness. But that speaks to another issue that
was that a playoff game?
It was not. It was not. It was just a regular season game. Yeah.
The playoff implications.
Yeah, very important game, but still. But it just speaks to the other issue of teams don't really care. I mean, they care about the players, but at the same time, they don't. They're not looking out for the players' best interest in their long-term interest. They're basically saying, "Oh, you're good to go. Okay, go out there."
They care about the product. It's not about it's not about the game anymore. It's not about, oh my goodness. I've noticed this over the last few years. Like, I used to talk about how like the All-Star game is a circus. No, it's the leagues. They become circus. And I can't really talk too much about like baseball and football and basketball, but it's like the three of us can then say we've been watching like sports for decades, right? We've watched these leagues grow over time. And it's like, what am I watching? Like, this is just craziness. And the politics that are being poured into sports now. And it's just like, is it just me? Am I just getting old and I'm like that old man yelling at a cloud? Or like,
no, well, I know you hate the sponsorship logos on the
Gary
stuff.
Bettman, that'll never happen.
Yeah, I mean,
They're hard to watch.
Yeah. So we'll see. I know people are complaining about the boards. I guess the boards change for depending on what where you're watching. They're electronic, they're digital now or some crap like that.
I usually get them for whatever feed I'm watching. So if like I'm always watching, like if I'm watching, I'll usually get the Pittsburgh Penguins like stream, and I'll get whatever local crap. No offense, guys, but I'll get it's just crap because I hate them. It's so distracting. It's so distracting when the puck's in play. I don't need to see Enterprise have a car drive along the
Right. It's very distracting. People hate it. And Gary Bettman said, no, people love it. Like, dude, come on.
People do not love it. It's very odd here. A lot. I will be at the games and I'm looking at the ice in person, and there will be a feed above me showing what the viewers are seeing, and looking at it in person and seeing the static logos, and then looking up at the feed and seeing what the viewers are seeing is kind of a surreal disconnect. And it's like, this feed is terrible, and I feel bad for the viewers having to watch it.
Remember when they had that glowing puck?
That's what it reminds me of. It's giving me flashbacks of that.
Oh my goodness, that was so bad. It made it look like a video game. Like, oh my goodness,
this is brutal.
What are we doing? All right. Speaking of what are we doing, let's talk about the Penguins. They've lost 5 in a row. This is a very streaky team. I mean, they were awesome most of December. What were they? What did they win in a row? Like 11,
they were
12?
They're on a seven game winning streak, and Joe's like, so there's absolutely nothing we can complain about.
Nothing's wrong.
They're perfect.
Well, with this team, the certainty is that if they're having a winning streak, the losing streak will follow, because the entire season has been win streak, lose streak, win streak, lose streak. So
It's a roller coaster.
it really is.
Let's go back to last Friday, home against the Devils. They lose 4-2. Started out all right. Malkin had a breakaway. Cool. Then Jack Hughes scores to make it 1-1. Was that Carter? Okay, that was the goal where Carter and POJ kind of attacked the nets and it kind of went off POJ's foot or something like that. So
Carter got the goal. Joseph undressed the Devils right out of their clown costumes. It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. Joseph is actually my player of the game for that game.
There you go. But then the Devils score the next three. Which is the one where Sullivan had the meltdown? Was that the goal? Was that the goal to make it 3-2?
Hersher's or Hamilton's? Hersher, I don't know names.
I believe it was the one to make it 3-2 Devils.
That was after Hersher. Yeah, just call me Don Cherry.
This was also the game where the Penguins had nine power plays and could not score on any of them.
None. Yep.
Wow. 0 for 9.
Now I'm hearing a lot of criticism of Sullivan lately. In this game, this was basically Ty Smith's debut, I believe. This was his first game. They had him playing a lot. And I believe they had him running the number one power play. Now Letang was not available. Petrie was not available. So, but for some reason, Sullivan puts Ty Smith, a guy that just showed up, running the power play. To me, that's inexplicable. I don't understand why he would do that.
Why Sullivan would do something?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's just one questionable thing. That's like, good, Angie.
And keeping in mind, the Ty Smith does come in with some pedigree. He's not a rookie coming in, with no NHL experience. He's been an NHL player. He's been a pretty successful NHL player with some offensive upside. So when you look at the Penguins roster currently, missing players like Chris Letang and Jeff Petrie, your options for who's going to be your, sort of offensive catalyst running the first power play are limited. I may have gone POJ ahead of Ty Smith, but yeah, I don't. It's a little different than if it's Ty Smith's debut overall in the NHL.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
To be fair, although I have a lot of criticism of Mike Sullivan right now, which is rare for me because I usually have nothing negative to say about him, but I can definitely give him a pass.
Nothing negative to say.
Not nothing negative, but usually I'm a big fan, and I think he's one of the top coaches in the league. I think it's hard to. I can usually see the perspective of why he makes the decisions he makes. I guess that's how I would say it. And I'm sure we'll get to the Winter Classic in a minute, but there are so many decisions of what he did in the Winter Classic that I just looked and said, I've got nothing here. I've got no defense for any of it. Anyway.
Yeah. This. I'm not sure if all the penalties were because the refs were doing a lousy job, or if those were earned penalties. But nine power plays in one game is just something's wrong there. But I do know that on the one goal,
they were calling that whole game pretty tight.
Okay, so we're just calling it a tight game.
They were.
The one goal I believe was that the Devils scored to make it 2-2. That was the one where it looked like Rust wasn't ready on the face-off or something like that, and basically that the Devils gained control. and scored, and Sullivan went insane. Sullivan was just screaming. He actually got a bench penalty for that. I don't know what happened there, but that's, I mean, I don't know if he was in the right there, or if the ref screwed up, or what, but yeah, Rust was at the faceoff circle and just stood there, and then they did the faceoff. So I don't know what happened there. That was weird. But yeah, so they lose 4-2.
All I have to say about that this game was that, aside from the we went 0-9 on the power play, is that the Devils started off really strong this season, and they had a terrible month of December. They played 13 games. They lost all but 4, winning against Philly, Chicago, and Florida and Pittsburgh. So they beat 2 crappy teams, and they beat Florida once. They lost to Florida as well, I should note, and they beat us for the last game of the month. They lost to Carolina, New York Rangers, Islanders, Nashville, Dallas, Boston twice, all the power teams. So that does say a lot. I want to say, I just wanted to note on that.
Okay. All right. So let's go on to the Winter Classic. First, the lineup. The lineup was 11 forwards, 7 defensemen. What's going on here? I don't think anybody knows exactly why he did that.
Sullivan has this is the problem I've had with Sullivan for a long time. He does not know how to run his bench. He does not know bench management at all. First of all, I was biting at the chomp, I don't know if that's the right phrase, to have him put Smith and Joseph together. I would have loved to see them together for a game. I think they would have been dynamic. We all know how great kids play together. And I say kids by, the younger guys, the less, experienced guys, not the veterans. And he missed a chance at this. I would have loved to see the two of them together.
I would love that.
It would have been so much fun. You have a lot of spirit in those two. It would have been fun. Let's have some fun. We talked about this last time, Joe. Let's have some fun out there. And especially in an outdoor game.
That would be incredible.
Let's have some fun. Sullivan doesn't like to have fun.
As it is right now, it looks like it was, and who knows when you have 7 defensemen who's with who, but it looked like it was Pettersson with Ruda as your first pair, which hey, what are you gonna do? You're missing your 2 best guys. Dumoulin with Smith, and Joseph with Friedman, and then Ruedel is just who knows what. So
burn in there.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just very questionable things like happening had a goal.
And then
go ahead, Angie.
Well, then you're in a situation where, surprise, you could use some offense and you've handcuffed yourself. You're basically playing with 3 lines and, throwing in, Kapanen and Danton Heinen, occasionally. And Kasperi Kapanen is the only player who's gotten a goal for you. He's been one of your better players for the past couple of weeks. You have Drew O'Connor sitting there who, would be a nice add to the lineup if you're looking for some offense. And I've got nothing. I don't know.
I'm telling you. Sorry, Angie. Me and Joe talked about this last podcast. We have time to take the roster, okay, put it in a salad, salad spinners. Put them in the salad spinner and spin it all up and just throw it out there, and see what we can come up with. I noticed, okay, so Sullivan's like, let's bump Russ back up beside Sidney. Russ has been probably one of our best players, most consistent, I'd say. I say that really loosely, but he's been working hard. I think they all have been really mediocre, if I'm going to be honest. And bump Raquel. Help me out here, guys. Back down to Gino's wing. We've bumped our best centerman over to the wing, which drives me absolutely mental.
You're talking about Carter.
But we were not making like drastic moves. Just like mix it all up. I know people are particular about who they play with, but just have some fun. One game, just throw it all out there and see what happens. You know, what's it going to hurt? It's not going to hurt anything.
You're right. It's not working. But another thing, it's not just who's playing with who, it's how much they play. Kapanen scored a goal. Kapanen was playing well.
Yeah,
and how much time does he get? 7 minutes of ice time. Danton Heinen was playing well. He got 5 minutes in the whole game.
I know he's been one of our best players. Like for our mistakes and errors. This is what upsets me. Since Kapanen went on his little sabbatical, he's come back and he's been a force. And he gets such little time. Heinen has been one of my favorite players this year, and he just gets overlooked. It's like Sullivan hates him. He makes the least amount of mistakes based on the errors that I've been following. And it's so frustrating. And it's like, what are you doing? And then, anyways, I'm going to go on a tangent. I really don't want to because Angie's here and I'd like to hear from her.
Oh, no, I'm with you, and I'm very frustrated. I am most frustrated. It's funny because when you talk about, oh, why not POJ and Ty Smith, on the same defensive pairing, I kind of laugh because I'm thinking, wow, could they handle that much youth on one defensive pairing? It's a miracle to me they've got that much youth in the lineup at one time. I guess that's why you can't add Drew O'Connor because, it just might tip the scales too much the wrong way, heaven forbid, you might just start, maybe for one game you wouldn't be the NHL's oldest team. I don't know how close you are to Washington. Would that tip the scales? Oh my gosh. I feel like that, you have an older core of players here. And that's just something you committed to when you decided to bring the gang back. And I feel like the balance of there are so many games this season. I don't think it's a coincidence that the Penguins have been leading the league in giving up late leads. And again, yesterday they gave up the late lead. And, I think this is something that happens when you're an older, slower team that wears down over the course of a hockey game. And to me, the only way to fix that is to supplement this core that you have with some younger legs. I think some things they're starting to do right. Like you're starting to, I was a big proponent of this idea of get Jeff Carter out of center. He's not an NHL center anymore. Maybe,
yes, he is. He's literally ranked in the top 20 in the league for face-off.
Well, they're putting
best face-off man. Look at his stats every
face-off. No, you are correct. But there are just responsibilities over the course of the game defensively that I feel like
but he can take the face-off and then transition to wing after taking the face-off.
I think that's kind of what they're doing.
Absolutely.
It is so important that to start that play
I
and
agree
get
with
that
that
face-off win. It is so important.
Yep.
No, he needs to be on the face-off. I will die on this hill.
I could agree with that. I would agree with that, and I think that is in fact exactly what they've been doing with him, transitioning him.
If you look at our other guys, like Sidney, he's 46%, 33%, 30%, 25%. Gino's the same number. I mean, Blueger, he gets what 52% or 58%.
Okay, but
this is what my thing.
but I get that, but Sullivan
now. I think those two things can coexist. I agree.
But right now at least the last game, it was Blueger on that third line as the third line center with Carter on the wing and McGinn. So Carter is the whipping, one of the whipping boys right now.
I feel like you're a stronger NHL club when you have Teddy Blueger as your third line center as opposed to your fourth line center. It just feels like a deeper team to me when that's the configuration you're working with. And when you have Ryan Poehling back, he's a guy that's shown he can handle those fourth line center responsibilities. So, that's a change I just wouldn't mind seeing. But I think overall, and you've definitely had some players this year. I think Poehling's been a nice surprise. I didn't expect a lot from him going into the season. And I think he's been a nice add when he's been healthy. And I think he's coming back shortly. So there will be him, and Josh Archibald's been pretty pretty good fourth line player for them. But just some of these players, they need to get into the mix, I think, to counteract that sort of older, slower lineup that they have currently. I sort of blame that for a lot of what's happening. And, I know Brian Dumoulin's another person that's really easy to sort of get on it. And he had a really bad moment in the Winter Classic yesterday that I think everybody sort of grabbed the freeze frame of to
Him laying
to
down,
point out.
laying down,
Yeah,
looked like he
where
was he was on the
that
beach.
goal. Yeah, he's out of the play entirely, which is, kind of par for the course for him this season. And he hasn't looked like the same player, with the injuries and surgeries. I really think they're wearing on him. But I also think he looked like a less negative presence when Jeff Petrie was in the lineup, and he was able to be in a more sheltered role. And now Petrie's out and Dumoulin's playing more minutes again and more situations that I think he looks worse for it. So it's a tough situation, but I think you have to start looking at that and looking how you're going to round out your roster with those things in mind.
Dumoulin played 19 minutes yesterday. Ty Smith played 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's not good.
That's the opposite of what it should be, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, Dumoulin is the whipping boy, and everybody blames him for every bad thing that's ever happened. He's not that bad, but at the same time, he shouldn't be logging the most minutes out of anybody. He should be like maybe a third pair defenseman, not second or first. And I know people are hurt, but still, it shouldn't. Yeah, he should just have less minutes. Same with Carter. Carter's not totally horrible, but maybe just play him less.
I feel bad for those guys. They're out there working really hard. They still do have, I think both of them still have, skill and, ways in which they can help the team. And one thing I have to say for both of them too, Dumoulin in particular, because he's taking so much criticism, is they come out after every game. They talk to the media after every game. Neither of them is ever hiding from it. Neither of them is ever trying to avoid the criticism. And they're just such professionals, and I give them a lot of credit. But I just think if you want to be the type of team that is wanting to compete for another Stanley Cup, you need some younger, faster legs in this lineup.
Another thing I want to see, as we mentioned, Jen, the whole shake 'em up thing. I think it's time to get Jake off of Crosby's line.
Oh, yeah,
I think it's time to put Jake with Gino, and put Zucker with Crosby and see what happens.
He's not really a big fan playing with Zucker. I think I really still want to see Heinen play with him. I don't really want to talk about the lineup because it ends up happening and then I get upset and just and then it doesn't stay. But you know what? I just want to see it all mixed up. Just mix it all up. Like I could.
This is the time. This is the time to mix it up. This is the time. We're basically almost at the halfway point of the season. This is the time to mix it up. You don't want to mix it up when you're trying, toward the end of the year when you're trying to fight for a playoff spot or whatever. This is the time.
Or game 2 of round 1 or game 3 of round 1.
Yeah.
It's like there's not enough time to fix everything.
Yeah. Experiment now. See what works.
Yeah.
Be willing to make
Definitely.
changes. My goodness. And Sullivan just needs to have trust in players. There's a reason Kapanen only played 7 minutes and Heinen only played 5 minutes, because he doesn't trust them.
Yeah, like Jake, Sidney, and Russ together, like I'm getting flashbacks from 2017. Like just get over 2018, like get over it.
Yeah, it was working, but now it's not.
It's not. And the chemistry, there's no chemistry. Like I said before, this team lacks any and all heartbeat. Sure, we're older, but we're not like, emancipate there with my words. I'm still lacking in words. Sorry. I do actually know words and just not lately. But we need to find, we're in good shape. We're very, very healthy, but we need to find a heartbeat. We need to get that family feeling again. And I don't feel it. I don't see it. I don't see it on the ice. I don't feel it, like that vibe we used to have. I don't feel it. I don't see it out there. And I know when we're winning, everyone looks happy, but I still don't feel it. It just doesn't have that vibe that we used to have 6-7 years ago. That's something that's important. This team building is definitely something that I would highly recommend these guys
Yeah.
work on.
Yeah. Jen, you how's the missed shots and turnovers looking?
It's not so good. We had 7 in each game for turnovers. So we did 36 and 37. So that's total of 14, bringing us up to 347 turnovers in 37 games.
7 in each game. That's actually pretty good.
Well, no, so it's not as well. What are we doing? Last time we did a.
I mean, usually it's like around 10 or 11 a game, and now it's 7. That's not.
15, 11, 17, 12.
There you go.
Yeah. No, they did bring it down. They definitely did bring it down, but still 349. That just, it's a very ugly number. But we did, I mean, everybody on the list, they're all high. I mean, or they're not high. Sorry. Sydney's in first with 4. It's been a while since he was on this list and in the first spot. Pedersen and Smith actually are tied for second with 2, and then Raquel, Zucker, I'll get it right eventually. Bluger, Carter, Gino, and Rust all tied with 1 for third. Missed shots, we had 25 in the combined 2 games, bringing our total to 439, which is pretty high. That's just about under 12 per game, I think. If my math is accurate. Raquel having 6. I need Raquel. Raquel's actually, his game's kind of gone down a bit. I've been watching him. He's actually my worst player against the the Devils. And going back to missed shots. So he had 6 in the 2 games, missed shots. Second, we had Gino and Heinen tied with 4 each. And then tied for third, we had Sydney, Gensel, and Rust. The top line, all 3. No, sorry, 2. All those 3 had 2. See that top line? It's just not working for me.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah.
Another thing that happened is
and no turnovers leading to goals.
Okay. Another thing that happened was Jari got hurt. Let's hope
Yes.
it's not. I mean, I guess he got hit in the leg, like in a bad spot or something like that. I'm not sure exactly.
He's been run in a lot this season. He got run in game 1 and 2, and I think he was hurt in slightly hurt, minorly hurt in both games, and he kept playing. So I think he might be nursing a.
They've it's bad enough that they've recalled what's his name,
Dustin
Tokarski.
Tokarski. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, Tokarski is basically he's like Louis Domingue 2.0, right? He's basically, I mean, he's been in the NHL a little bit, but he's basically like a tweener.
He's a little better, I think.
Okay.
I'd like Jerry
yeah,
rest. Tristan, take your time, rest, buddy.
Seriously, it's a good time to do that. And he's I want to say Tokarski's something like top 5 in the AHL this season in both save percentage and goals against average. So he's having a pretty successful season. I think the Penguins will do okay if he comes into a game or 2 for Casey DeSmith at this point. So
I think Casey's not a bad goalie. I mean, last night that
oh no, absolutely not. But if you have a situation where you need to sub someone in, during this time, depending how long it is.
I mean, there's
right.
only 2 games in the next week. They're at Vegas on Thursday, and then they're at Arizona on Sunday. So there's plenty of time. So Smith could play both games, and then they have a game Tuesday home against Vancouver. So I mean, Smith could play. You could see Smith playing all three of those, and and not hurting him too much. So now they do have a back-to-back. The end of next week, or Friday and Saturday, they're home to Winnipeg, and then at Carolina. So then maybe
Nice scheduling, NHL.
Hey, this Friday night games. It's fantastic. I hate Friday night
It,
games. It's
it
just so
definitely
weird.
worked out for them.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I also hate Friday night games. But as far as the scheduling with Jari getting hurt, it
Yeah.
definitely worked out, that they have a little bit of a light schedule. So
I
hopefully
hope that he does
will.
not push to come back prematurely. I really hope he takes time to rest. I really hope he takes time to rest. Oh my God.
He's the key.
Earlier this season, there was a point where he mentioned, the reason I've perhaps not been playing at the top of my game is because I've been nursing a minor injury. And then he just, as he said this, he was continuing to play and there was no time missed.
And play poorly.
Strikes you.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I watched him like get
okay,
running so many times, and I'm like, something's not right here.
Yeah. This is the time.
So where does the time come into play to take the time you need to heal?
Exactly.
Because it's
If I'm
not
Sullivan
happening.
and I hear that, I'm like,
Get out of here, dude. Go,
Get
go
outta
sit
here.
down. But no
That is
pressure.
really concerning to me, being that, as you said, he is in fact the key. If you don't have him, I mean, no offense to Casey DeSmith, who is a very competent backup goalie. If he is your number one goalie going through the Stanley Cup playoffs, number one, that's not good. And number two, that means that, you have a situation where, you're dealing with your number three as your potential number two. And we all saw how that went last year. So
yeah,
or your number one be going into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Or your number one.
I mean, we've had the past two postseasons derailed by goaltender play, whether it's injured or just poor play or whatever. And for some reason they decided to bring back DeSmith. And as you said, Angie, DeSmith is a perfectly capable backup goalie. He's a good 2, but maybe we need a 1A. Maybe we need somebody almost as good or as good as Jari. I know those guys aren't, there's not a big tree out there where you could just pluck one off, but still, I think they needed a stronger goalie, and maybe they need to trade for one or something like that. Cause if Jari goes down again at the wrong time, that's it. That's yet another season.
I'm still angry of our off season Hextalling.
No, Hextall's not very popular right now.
Season Hextalling.
Yeah.
I was definitely surprised they chose to stick with Casey DeSmith as the backup and not go for a more 1A type. I really was surprised at that. I thought by all means they would want to at least challenge Jari a little more and push him with that 1A sort of presence, just because he really hasn't, until he proves something in the playoffs, he hasn't proven anything yet.
Exactly.
And very surprised they didn't go that route. So here's where they are right now, and I guess you just hope that Tristan Jari goes into the playoffs looking like regular season Tristan Jari at his best and isn't hurt.
Yeah. We will see. All right. Well, thanks for letting me vent. This is sometimes most of these when we want to talk Penguins, it just feels like a giant vent session of we just need to get stuff off our chests. So
usually I go on a complete tear. I didn't today, I think.
You had to behave because we had guests.
I had to behave today. Angie kept me in check.
Oh, that is I am sure. That is definitely, I'm sure, how the fans are feeling right now, because it is super frustrating. I mean, it's frustrating, being at these games and watching them have a pretty comfortable lead in hand. That game the other night, where they're up by 3 goals and you just see it start to, or 4 goals rather, and you see it they start to chip away at it. And you just know as it's cut to like the 4-2 lead, you can see it coming. You're like, this is over. This is going the wrong direction. Right. And you just know how it's going to end, because this team doesn't have that urgency. And when Jen says they don't have that family feeling or that vibe, what it feels like to me is that they just don't have the strong identity I would want to see from a team that feels like they're actually a Stanley Cup contender.
Yeah.
This team doesn't feel like that to me. And until I get any sense of that from them, I just don't feel like they're contending for very much this year.
Maybe they're giving up leads because even they realize it's inevitable. Or maybe the other team realizes like, hey, it doesn't matter if they get up on us. We'll get them in the third period.
I want to see some motivated play. I want to see, I want them to hit the ice each shift, and I want to see them enjoying themselves. That's when the magic happens. When
There was a goal. That was another thing. Malkin, I believe in the Devils game, totally just he had a turnover, and it didn't directly lead to the goal. Yeah, and then he just refused a back check. He was just like standing around, like what the heck happened there? I don't know.
It's hard to watch. It's like, are we not paying you enough?
It's frustrating. It's just frustrating because we know they're capable of so much better. That's why we're so frustrated, and that's why
are they though? Are they just not into it? Like, look at Sidney.
I don't know.
One night he's amazing. The next night it's like, are you there? But
yeah.
Sorry, Angie, go ahead.
No, I wonder. I honestly wonder a lot of times. They talk about, that idea of how badly they want to get another Stanley Cup. And I just wonder how hard it is to really manufacture. Like, they've won. A lot of these guys have won. They have Stanley Cups. Do you want it that badly? Like, do you want it as much as somebody who's never won? Can you really manufacture that want enough? I wonder, because sometimes I watch this and you watch like a 4-goal lead slip away and you wonder about how strong that desire to win actually is. So I don't know how I feel about this team and how hard the desire is
that's the
there.
thing. It's hard to have that desire when you've accomplished so much and when you've won so much. But if you have an infusion of kids, or if you have younger players and you play them a lot, they have that hunger. O'Connor doesn't have any cups. I don't think he does. Ty Smith doesn't have any cups. Play these guys. I don't think Kapanen has any cups. Let me play these guys that might be hungry.
He most definitely does not.
Smith and Joseph together. Let's go. One game. The fans want to see it. Jen wants to see it.
Go.
Do it.
Hey, thank you so much. This was so much fun. Thank you so much.
We finally got
really
to do
fun.
it, Angie.
Yeah.
I know,
like
it's
5
been
years.
so long. I know. This was great, Jen.
All right. Hey, all right. Thanks so much, everyone. We'll see you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, guys.